All right, I am back, and this is going to be section 3. And notice this is a little bit different because we are going to be factoring trinomials again, but these trinomials are of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. In other words, that number out front of the variable or the squared term does not equal 1. All right, so it's going to be a different number. Now, in the previous section, we looked at a problem like this, and what we found that when you factor this, you're going to get, oops, sorry, wrong number. The quantity x plus 1 times the quantity x plus 6, which is a binomial times another binomial, okay? We already learned that. And the nice part about this is even in this section, the answers are still going to be a binomial times a binomial. But here's the problem. What we're going to be looking at is a problem that looks like this. 3x to the second plus 11x plus 6. And the issue here is if we were to go ahead and just use our technique from the previous section, what we would do is we'd write the x and the x and then the plus and the plus. I mean, all that would be the same. But here's the problem. Since we have this number out front, and that's a number 3, the question goes, does the 3 go in the first set of, or in the first binomial, or does it go in the second binomial? And that means everything for us, okay? Because the position of that 3 is going to change a lot of stuff. So I know, and you may be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, I've seen this before, and what we did is we would just put it up front here. The coefficients of 6 are 2 and 3, and then what you would do is you would check it to make sure you're correct. But here's my question. How do you know the 3 didn't go over here? How do you know, better yet, how about this? How about this? How do you know the answer is not 1 and 6? And then you might have to put the 3 over here. I mean, right there are 4 possible answers for this one problem. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to waste time with guessing and checking. That's not what this is about. I don't want to waste time guessing and checking. So hopefully you're sitting there going, well, yeah, I don't want to waste time guessing and checking either. In fact, that's what you learned a long time ago, and it didn't work, or it got frustrating, or it got to the point where you were just like, you know what, I just don't even care. I'm going to show you a method that will work on every single problem that we're going to encounter, okay? And there's no guessing at all, okay? And here's the method right here. The key to factoring polynomials, or better yet, let's get more specific, trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is called, and I know it's a really fancy name, the AC method. All right? I love math because in a lot of math, there's nothing more than just following a recipe. It's like cooking, and I love cooking. I'm going to give you the recipe right now, so just give me a second. I'm going to copy and paste it, and then we're going to go through it, and I'm going to do examples using this method, and it's very easy. All right, I am back, and here's our method right here. So the key to this method is to rewrite the trinomial, which has 3 terms, as a 4-term polynomial. So what we're going to do is we're going to take something that has 3 terms, and then we're going to make it something in 4 terms. And remember from the very first video of this, or very first lecture video, if you have something in 4 terms, you could just factor by grouping. So let's see how this works. Number 1, first, you always want to factor out the GCF provided it exists, all right? If it doesn't exist, that's fine. Here's the first part you're going to do. Get an idea of the final factored form. I'll explain to you what that means in a second. Second, you're going to multiply A times C. So if you think about if you're wondering what I'm talking about, we have a polynomial of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Step 2 says, take that number there and that number there and just multiply them. And then find the factors of that result. Step 3, we're going to rewrite the middle term by using the factors found in step 2. And then step 4, we're going to rewrite the middle term and factor by grouping. Okay? So let me show you how this works. If I were you, I would put the pencil down and I would just watch. So here's our first example here. 2x to the second plus 11x plus 15. And we're going to factor this. So I'm just going to go ahead and follow my steps. Step 1, I factor out a GCF if it exists. So I look at the numbers 2, 11, and 15. There's no GCF for the numbers. And then I look at the variable, x to the second x. It would have been really nice if that last term had a variable in it, but it doesn't. So there's no GCF at all. So I'm going to just go right off to the side here. No GCF. So now I'm going to do 1A, which is get an idea of the original, or get an idea of the factored form. What I mean by that is this, and like I said, hopefully you are not writing this down. You put your pencil down and you're just watching. If I pretend that 2 right there didn't even exist, I know my answer would look something like this with my signs. I have no idea what the numbers are in each position respectively, but I don't care. I know this is the idea. This is what the answer is going to look like. So now I'm just going to write the 2 back in there because that is the problem. But this is my idea. All right? And I leave that there. Step 2. So we're going to multiply A times C. So here's step 2. So I'm going to take 2 times 15, and that equals 30. And then I'm going to find the factors of this result. So 1 and 15. Sorry, I'm moving way too fast again. 1 and 30. 2 and 15. 3 and 10. Okay? I hope you're with me so far. Okay? Oh, forgot one more. 5 and 6. So now, the reason why I wanted you to get an idea is because I know whatever pair I pick, both numbers are going to be positive. And I know I need to combine to give me positive 11. So I write positive 11 over to the right here. Okay? So if you think about this, plus 1 plus 30 is 31. That's too big. Too much. Scratch it out. Plus 1 plus 15, well, that's going to give you positive 17. That's too much. Positive 3 plus 10 equals 13. That's too much. But if you look here, positive 5 plus 6 equals 11. Okay? So what I did is I just found the factors for the result. Okay? Step 3 now. Step 3 says write the middle term using the factors in step 2. Now, our middle term originally was 11x. However, I'm going to write this as 5x plus 6x. Because if you think about it, 5x plus 6x is 11x. And then this is where step 4 kicks in. Step 4, we're going to rewrite the middle term and factor by grouping. So watch what I do here. 2x squared plus 5x plus 6x plus 15. Now, remember, and I'm going to highlight this, but then I'm going to erase it. That middle term used to be 11x, okay? This used to be 11x. What I did is I just rewrote it using the AC method. And that's the key to this entire problem here. So let me go ahead and erase this stuff. Because now I'm going to factor by grouping, which we learned in the very first lecture video. Step 1, we group the first set of terms. We group the second set of terms. Remember, that middle sign is not grouped. Also, that middle sign is positive, so I don't have to worry about anything. Now we're going to find the little mini GCF for this first group of parentheses, and that's going to be an x, so I can factor that out. Now I will find a little mini GCF for this part, or the second set of parentheses, and that's going to be a 3. So I can factor that out. Notice my built-in check system, 2x plus 5, 2x plus 5, they are the same, which is awesome because I know I'm doing this right. So I can factor the 2x plus 5, and then I'll highlight what's remaining, x plus 3, and that is what goes over in the second set of parentheses here. And there's your factored form right there. Notice here, there was no guessing at all. Everything, and I mean everything, every step I did had a purpose. So what I want to do is just go over this one more time. I'm just going to zoom out so we can see the entire problem with the steps. And we're going to go through it one more time. Now, if you want to write down, that's fine. I would write down now. And if I'm moving too fast, just pause the video and rewind it and go back. You can do that, which is awesome. So here we go. The problem was 2x to the second plus 11x plus 15. The goal was to factor it. First, I checked for a GCF. There was no GCF. So I'm going to get an idea of the final factored form. My idea, I pretend that this coefficient of a 2 out front is not even there. I just pretend it's not even there. I know the binomial that my answer is going to be has 2 plus signs. And in fact, as I go through these problems, you're going to notice that I don't even write the x's anymore. I just write the signs. That's it. Because all I'm concerned with, what are those signs? So there's 1a done. I got my idea. Part 2, or step 2, I multiply a times c. In this case, it's going to be 2 times 15. I don't worry about signs. I'm just concerned with the numbers. So 2 times 15 equals 30. I wrote out the factors of 30, and I found the 2 that combined to give me positive 11. That happened to be plus 5 and plus 6. Step 3, instead of writing 11x, I'm going to rewrite it using my factors that I found in step 2, which is going to be 5x plus 6x. And then step 4, which is my last step, excuse me, I'm going to rewrite the problem, and instead of writing 11x, I'm going to use the terms from step 3. So 2x squared plus 5x plus 6x plus 15. Now I factor by grouping. So I just create my groups. I factor out my mini GCFs respectively. I check the binomials to make sure they are the same. In this case, the 2x plus 5 is the same in both of them, which is fantastic. So I just write 2x plus 5 out front, and then I write what's ever remaining in the parentheses. So I hope this made sense. Now what I'm going to do is just a bunch of examples. I think we're good. I just need to do examples now. So here's the second example. 15x squared minus 23x plus 8. So step 1, GCF. Well, I'm just going to tell you there is no GCF. Please check just to make sure I'm correct. Now, 1a is get that idea of what the final answer is going to look like. So I just put parentheses. I copy down the first sign. And I know the second sign has to be negative because my result is a positive number. Okay? Step 2, we're going to go ahead and take 15 times 8, which is going to be 120. Now, I realize it's a big number. That's okay. We could deal with it. So let's write out the factors. And just give me a second here. I'm just going to write them all out, and then I'll unpause the video. Okay, so here are all the factors. And remember, you want to combine them so that you get negative 23 as a result. And you know from step 1a that both numbers are going to be negative. And the only way that occurs is all the way down here. Negative 8 minus 15 is negative 23. So step 3, we're going to take that negative 23x and we're going to rewrite that as negative 8x minus 15x. Okay? And here's our final step, which is step 4. Let's rewrite the problem. 15x squared. And instead of writing the negative 23x, we're going to write negative 8x minus 15x plus 8. Okay? Now, factor by grouping. So let's do our little mini GCF. So let's group. Now remember, you got to be careful here. This middle sign is a negative. So it's going to be 15x minus 8. Make sure you write that down. Okay, from here, let's find the mini GCF. So in the first set of parentheses, it's just going to be an x. And in the second set of parentheses, there isn't one. And that's okay. Now, I am going to write this because we're going to run into this. We're going to see this a lot. You got to remember, there's a 1 in front of that set of parentheses, okay? And the reason why I'm saying that is because when you check the built-in check system, notice the first binomial is 15x minus 8, and the second binomial is 15x minus 8, which you can factor that out. The question becomes what's left over. Well, that's going to be x minus 1, and that is what goes in the second binomial. Okay, then there's your factored form. All right, now once again, we're just going to do more problems. All right, so here's our next problem here. Let's try this one out. Let's do 8x squared plus 25x plus 3, okay? So once again, look for a GCF. In this case, there isn't one, which the next problem there will be. But in this case, there's no GCF, and that's fine. So 1a, let's get that idea. Well, they're both going to be positive. Step 2, we're going to take 8 times 3, which is going to be 24, and that's nice. Let's write out the factors of 24. So we got 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 6. Sorry, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. Now, we know, no matter what pair we pick, both those numbers are going to be positive, and it has to total to 24. So that happens right here. Plus, oh, sorry, that doesn't happen there, because it's not 24, it's 25. So plus 1 plus 24 equals 25. So step 3, 25x is really 1x plus 24x. And then step 4, we're going to just go ahead and rewrite 8x squared plus x plus 24x plus 3. Now we factor by grouping. So I'll group the first set. I'll group the second set. I factor out an x for my first parenthesis. That gives me the quantity 8x plus 1. For the second, I factor out a 3. And notice that also gives you 8x plus 1. So those match, which is great. So just factor out the 8x plus 1. And what's left over is x plus 3. So I hope you see just how easy this really is, okay? Because it's really not that difficult. It's just following the steps, going through the motions, practice, 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 okay? Let's look at another situation here. So here's another problem. So we're going to have 3y to the second minus 12y minus 36. Okay, so step 1, GCF. Well, in this case, there is. If you look, the GCF is just going to be a 3. So when you factor out a 3, what you're left with is 3 times the quantity y squared minus 4y minus 12. Okay? So now if you look at this, look what happened. Initially, we definitely had a 3 out front, but because we were cautious, we don't have to use the AC method here. We can go directly into the multiplication of 2 binomials. And that's because when you factored out a 3, now you're left over with a 1 in front of that y squared, which is awesome. So we can go directly into this. So write your letters, do your signs, factors of 12. And we know we want them to combine to give you -4. One of them is negative, one of them is positive. And the only way that occurs is +2 minus 6. So +2 minus 6. And there you go. So sometimes, even though it looks like you need to do the AC method, you should really always check for a GCF. It's so crucial that you do that. Okay? So that's going to be it for this lecture. I hope it made sense. I hope it kind of organizes your thoughts for you. And what I'm going to do in the next video, which will probably be next week. Now, you know what? I'll do another video. I'm going to do another video which goes over how to use the factoring flowchart. I think that's really important. So keep an eye out for that, but that's going to be later on in the week. Okay? See you later. Bye.